Hi, I'm Dr. Matt Couch. In this module, we'll explore one of the most significant aspects of student development that leads to successful outcomes: student involvement. By the end of this session, you'll get an introduction to student involvement theory and be able to identify different types of co-curricular involvement that lead to positive outcomes for students. You'll have a working understanding of some of the empirically researched benefits of co-curricular involvement, and you'll start to develop strategies for promoting healthy, purposeful involvement for the students in your life. First, let me clarify something about terminology. For our purposes here, when we talk about college student involvement, we're referring to activities outside of what's required for class participation. Although there are subtle differences, most student involvement scholars use the terms extracurricular and co-curricular interchangeably. Extracurricular can have a connotation of being just an add-on, separate from the learning that occurs in the classroom. My default is to use co-curricular because of how important I believe out-of-class involvement to be to a holistic college education. Another term you'll encounter in a lot of the scholarship on student involvement is engagement. This is another term that some may use synonymously with involvement, but there's a bit more meaning here. Engagement is not just what students do, but also what the institution does to foster their involvement. As you read about and discuss these constructs, you may find it helpful to know how they are similar and different. Much of the scholarship on student involvement springs from the work of Alexander Aston, whose student involvement theory was groundbreaking when it entered the landscape in the late 1970s. Aston's theory was the first to posit that involvement is the investment of both physical and psychological energy, so not just how much time a person spends doing something, but also how committed they are. Most simply, Aston's theory states that the more involved a student is in college, the more favorable the academic outcomes will be for that student. Aston's theory was established primarily on data from white, traditional-age students, but unlike some theories that started in similar fashion, student involvement theory has been shown through research to have a lot of cultural relevance and applicability to almost every social identity. Where there is less research on the impact of involvement on academic outcomes is with the experiences of adult learners, graduate and professional students, and students at two-year and online colleges. A little bit exists, but there could be an opportunity for any of you out there who may want to explore this in the future. At the foundation of student involvement theory and many other models of college impact is Aston's IEO model. I stands for inputs, the characteristics and attitudes a student possesses at the time of college entry. E stands for environments, things like programs, co-curricular experiences, peer groups, policies, facilities, and other aspects of the college experience. O is for outcomes, like student development, learning, persistence, graduation, and satisfaction with college. The interaction of inputs and environments, which occurs by way of student involvement, influences outcomes. Most universities offer a great variety of involvement opportunities, and scholars have measured outcomes for students who participate in them. Here are some examples, along with an article you can explore to learn more about the impact of participation in each. Student clubs and organizations, fraternities and sororities, campus employment, athletics, both intercollegiate and intramural, leadership development and volunteer community service, curricular activities like ROTC, undergraduate research and honors programs, spiritual involvement. Some scholars have also looked at the amplified effect of multiple involvements at the same time. Co-curricular involvement has been linked through research to just about every positive outcome in college. One of the primary reasons for the beneficial power of student involvement is that it fosters peer group interaction. Social networks are built, interpersonal skills are strengthened, and learning at a higher plane occurs. Compared to students who are not involved in co-curricular activities, involved students typically experience a number of significant benefits: higher grades, establishing purpose in their lives, intercultural competency, career readiness with skills valued by employers, public speaking ability, leadership skills, interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, gains in critical thinking, more meaningful relationships with peers and faculty or staff, satisfaction with college, and perhaps most importantly, a higher likelihood of graduating. You can probably come up with a few great examples of how getting involved improves someone's school experience, maybe even your own. Hopefully, you were able to reflect on that in the pre-work for this module. But let's look to pop culture for a good example of this theory at work. The cinema landscape is peppered with movies about college that show main characters growing and building toward a happy ending by getting involved. Monsters University, Drumline, Legally Blonde, Revenge of the Nerds, and Back to School, just to name a few. One of the clearest examples is the 2012 film Pitch Perfect, whose main character is Becca, a freshman at the fictional Barden University, where her father works as a professor. Becca doesn't see college as a necessary step in her aspirations to become a music producer, and frankly, she doesn't want to be there. She's not interested in making friends and initially has no interest in being part of the life of the college. Her father proposes a deal. Join one club on campus and put real effort into it, and if she still doesn't want to be there after a year, he would let her drop out and help her move to Los Angeles. Becca winds up joining an all-female a cappella singing group, and over the course of the film, her cynical, guarded mindset gives way to a journey of self-discovery, deep friendships, and a sense of belonging she would not otherwise have found. She comes back for a second year and takes a leadership role. Spoiler alert, we even know from the sequels that she graduates and gets a job, another student involvement success story. If we go back to Aston's IEO model, some of Becca's inputs, like her gender and her love of music, interact in the environment through her involvement with an all-female singing group supported by the college that is both a social and a performing outlet, leading to successful outcomes, like finding a sense of belonging and persisting to her second year when she was originally a loner who wanted to leave college as soon as she could. Student involvement theory gives us an important framework for asserting the importance of co-curricular engagement, designing learning outcomes that can only be achieved through out-of-class experiences, and providing opportunities for students to flourish socially and academically. There are many different types of involvement that have been shown to result in some very important outcomes. We want students to be realistic about the time they have to invest in co-curricular activities, and we don't want them to overdo it. We also want them to be intentional about choosing activities that are meaningful to them, not just grabbing things they think others might value. To recap, co-curricular involvement is one of the most important aspects of a holistic college education, as evidenced by countless studies demonstrating the benefits for many students. Involvement changes lives and helps students become so much more well-rounded. And we hope you'll be an advocate for purposeful involvement for the students in your life.